Hey, they call me the meat man. Y'all see me eat now. Hit on the meat man.
You're listening to Best Barbecue, where we talk, taste, and even cook the best barbecue in Texas, which is the best barbecue in the world.
I was born out in Texas, called the land of beef. Never catch a muscle green or show no hell like a meat. I'm the meat man.
How you doing, Stover?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I just shoot a big bird out of a tree that was right next to our studio, making a little too much noise, picking it up on the mics.
Oh, I thought you said shoot for a second. I was terrified.
No, I wouldn't shoot a bird. It was a big, pretty bird of prey, something big.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing we could eat.
Yeah, I mean, the things that we like to eat, they can't fly that much.
Well, we've established we're the meat men.
Absolutely. And we're here to talk to you about La Barbecue, a local staple here in Austin. We went over there and we talked to the owners as well as a couple of the people who work there. Stover enjoyed it.
I did. It's got to be my favorite barbecue so far. I mean, we have a lot to go, but I was dying. I think I almost died, but that's my fault. I ate too much.
Well, I mean, they gave us a very big portion. Cam, the general manager, said, "You trust me?" And we said, "Yeah, make us a plate." And so it was pretty substantial.
One thing I've learned in life is if anyone asks you, "Do you trust me?" you have to say yes, because it could go incredibly right. It also could go wrong, but at least it's an adventure.
Yeah, I'd say in most of those cases, I'd say yes, too.
What did you think about the food? I mean, you've been there tons.
Oh, yeah, they used to be around the corner from my house. I've been digging that place for a long time. The owner, Leanne, and the other owner, Allie, I made friends with because she's out there working all the time.
They have such passion for cooking, and it really comes through in the food because everything is just immaculate as far as I'm concerned. And I actually really like the sides. Normally, I'm a little iffy on the sides. They don't usually matter. This time, I would go and just eat those.
They put a lot of work into everything they make, but I like the meat the best. That barbecue rib is just cooked perfectly.
The barbecue rib was my favorite.
Yeah, and I mean, it literally, you could just pull the bone right out of it. There's nothing holding that thing down.
Yeah, I should paint a picture for people that haven't had a big beef rib at barbecue. We're not talking like a little slab of beef. I mean, we're talking Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, they call it a dinosaur bone.
Unfortunately, science hasn't created dinosaur meat yet.
Yeah, we'll see if that ever happens.
Well, if you do, you'll hear it first on this show because we break all the meat news.
Yeah, you'll definitely hear it here. There's no question.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Cool, so it was great to go over to La Barbecue and talk to the owners, Leanne and Allie.
Yeah, I mean, besides the great food, we got a great reception as well.
Oh, I mean, everyone there is super sweet, and I think, anytime you show up with some professional recording equipment, people kind of get excited to see you.
Yeah, well, we're trying not to F it up.
Yeah, exactly. We look professional. Now we just got to make the shows to back it up.
It was so hot that day, I had a very professional sheen of sweat on my body.
Oh, yeah. We were sitting there for an hour before we were like, why are we sitting in the sun? Maybe we should go sit in the shade.
I'm kind of a newbie to Texas, so I make that mistake a lot, but you've been here way longer than I have.
Yeah, it's my fault for sure.
So, we sat down with the owners, and we had a great conversation about how they started the business.
I grew up in barbecue. I decided in 2000, I'd gone off to several different colleges. Grew up since I was in middle school, working at Louis Miller's. Went to different colleges, always wanted to be a photographer. Always wanted to go to California and go to Brooks. My parents wouldn't let me, so I was like, fine, I'll go to whatever college around here you want me to. Never could stick with it or complete it. Sold eyeglasses. I was like, God, I worked at iMasters and LensCrafters. It's when I had to wear that blue blazer, I was like, I'm out. And so I called my dad, and I was like, hey, can I come back to work at Louis Miller's? And he said yes. So that's when I really dove back into being a part of, the family business again. And I stuck with that for about 3 years. Through those 3 years, me and my dad started me out, making sides, and he had started me with making sausage, and then we started collaborating, making with the sausage recipes that I wanted to bring in there. Mm-hmm. He had me cutting, cooking.
Yeah, didn't Aaron Franklin cut onions for them? Isn't that what I heard?
Yeah, I believe Aaron Franklin worked up there at Louis Miller as well.
And we have his book right here in front of us, and it's so funny to think about where people start and where they end up. He's achieved so much.
Well, and I feel like barbecue really shows the old school apprenticeship. There's no other way to teach it except to bring someone, show them how to cook, and have them help until you feel like they're comfortable doing it themselves.
That's right, because so much is technique, and that's what those old trades are. Barbecue is a lot like making a sword, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't realize that some people salt and pepper them the night before. Some people do it right before they go on the smoker. Some people rest or let their meat sit out and come to room temperature, which I do. I think that's the best way to get a good cut of barbecue. Is you can't put it on the grill cold.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Leanne also talked about some of their barbecue origins.
Central Texas barbecue is kind of hard to define. And, you know, our influences are not just Central Texas barbecue. We have pulled pork that's very much
Carolinas. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just our sauce, but that one sauce in general, and you know, the fact that we do have pulled pork and not like sliced pork shoulder situation.
Remember back in the day? I remember when I was a child, there was never pulled pork on the menu.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, you would do like a sliced pork shoulder.
Yeah. Well, John used to give me a hard time. He's like, "Why would we do pulled pork? This is Texas." And that's why, you know, slices his pork shoulder.
I think it's interesting to see how tradition and everything plays into the way these guys are cooking. One of the more modern things that these guys are talking about is actually having a more humane meat, which I thought was interesting. I think it also is affected by their decision to head out to LA, which they're going to talk about here in a second.
It's always something that gets my juices flowing when I hear humane meat. Sometimes it does bum me out to eat meat. I don't know what that says about me that I do it and I don't like it at the same time, but I just have that hunger.
I mean, I think that you should enjoy anything you do. And I mean, maybe it's because you went down to the auctions up in Lexington and watched them auctioning off heads of cattle one at a time, and you saw that big pen full of them.
Yeah, I hung out with those cows. They were telling me secrets about their life. It's okay. They're fine.
Anyone who goes out there to Snow's Barbecue, I definitely would stop by the auctions. But let's hear Leanne talk about humane meat.
We're really kind of wanting to go to all humanely sourced, you know, humanely raised, hopefully locally sourced meats.
Yeah.
That's great because I'm an ex-vegan and that would make me feel much better.
I used to be vegan.
You used to be vegan too?
Working at Louis
I was
Miller's.
pescatarian before we started.
I was
this
vegan
place.
working the counter.
You worked at your dad's
Yes,
place when you were vegan?
I worked at my dad's place, and I was vegan. They would be like, "What do you recommend?" I was working the middle, and I'd be like, "Nothing, because meat's murder." And my dad would just like roll his eyes, and I'd be like, "Yeah, that happens."
Yeah, it's funny how far we can come in life.
Yeah, and I'm like, "You can't fire me. I'm your daughter."
I used to cook meat for my family too when I was a vegan and vegetarian. And I think I said the same thing at one time or another, meat is murder.
I understand the idea, but I try not to get down about it. I think it's a beautiful, delicious thing, and I enjoy every minute of it.
Well, we talked about, for one episode, going actually down to the slaughterhouse and checking out the scene.
Oh, I'm all about it.
Should we just slaughter something?
I don't know. Breaking down a cow is like, if you're not a professional, I mean, you're basically ruining thousands of dollars worth of meat.
Okay, well, how about we start small?
I mean, I'm down to find a lease and go out and maybe like clean a deer.
Oh, no, I was
We gotta
thinking
catch it first.
I was thinking like a backyard rat, then a pigeon, then armadillo.
I mean, I can show you how to break down a chicken. Those are a lot easier to. You don't have to catch them. They're just sitting there in the grocery store.
Before I was ever vegetarian, my dad showed me how to cut up fish, salmon, and it bummed me out. I think that's what actually led me to becoming vegetarian, but I'd be open to trying it out again.
I mean, you shouldn't be scared of doing anything.
I'm scared of doing everything.
Well, these guys aren't scared of anything because they're moving to LA, and I think they talk a little bit about that.
We're gonna take our yellow trailer out to California.
Yeah, they're moving this operation at the Quickie Picky down the street.
All that says to me is, I need more pets. I mean, there's 14 million people in LA. I think isn't that what it is? Like,
Something ridiculous.
compared to what we have here, I'm gonna need to cook a lot more food.
I love the fact that she just thinks about how many people are in LA and that It almost sounds like it worries her, like, oh, I'm going to need a lot more pits.
Yeah, if you think the line is long here, imagine 14 million people lining up every Saturday.
Well, and I'm curious about how LA will react. I'm not sure if there's anything in LA that, and I'm guessing they're going to do it the same way they did it here. And is there a place in LA where you get a tray with just a piece of butcher paper on it and a bunch of greasy meat thrown on top of it, and you just go out? I mean, they're doing something wild because LA is just a totally different vibe. Are they going to have to promote themselves? I mean, when I first went to La Barbecue, there wasn't a line. You just went at 11 and you got some barbecue. And, you know, these days the line starts at maybe 10:30 at the latest. But I've been there where 8 or 9 o'clock, there's already people in line. And these days you got to wait in line for something in Austin.
We showed up super early to talk to everyone and to hang out. And there was already someone there waiting for meat. Oh, we're talking hours before.
Oh, yeah. The real hot spots, you know, I go to Snow's every week, and up until the whole Texas Monthly list came out, you could go there and get there at 7:30. You're good. Now I get there at like 6:30. I got there at 6:30 and I was 19th in line. And the week before I got there at 6 and I was like 6th in line. So.
And I'm spoiled because I got there at 9:30, which I thought was early. And you already had meat waiting for us, so thank you.
Oh, yeah, we got you. I made a whole platter for y'all. Not everyone can get up at 4:30 a.m. and have coffee, and me and my girl are tough like that, though.
Way tougher than I am.
The best is now we just fixed up my motorcycle, so now we can start riding the bike back out there. So we had a head gasket and some brakes that needed some work.
Should probably just move up there.
I look at, there's a lot of real estate signs. So being a realtor during the day, I definitely am looking at what's out there.
You know, when we went up there together, it was my first time, and we'll talk about that in a future episode. But it's clear that you love it because you've already been making friends. I ran into someone who was telling me a story about a guy they met. It turned out to be you, although he called you Yanni.
Oh, well, you know, a few people make that mistake. I usually correct them.
Yeah, you corrected me, but it was about 3 weeks too late.
Yeah, but you're probably talking about Barry, the guys who run him and his wife run Circle B. It's just a cool vintage antique store across the street from Snow's, and I bought a pair of boots there.
I bought an old cigar box.
Nice. Yeah, they have a lot of cool stuff. In the back, this is like my dream, is in the back they have a real horse from a merry-go-round that someone started carving, and it needs to be finished, but I think they want like $5,000 for it, so...
Yeah, me and my girlfriend went there, and we love old stuff, and we saw so much cool old vintage stuff, and, you know, broken down weird things too, which for collectors of that stuff is great.
If you ask the people that lived there, it was a peanut town. They were peanut farmers. In fact, Snow's, it's covered up in brush, but there's actually a peanut shelling machine that's a giant old metal machine sitting there that you're basically sitting next to when you eat barbecue there.
Well, let's talk about La Barbecue again.
Yeah. I asked them about whether or not they were going to be able to source good wood over there.
We can find white oak. Actually, we actually had a couple that was standing in line that introduced themselves to me and Brendan, and their friend has a passion for wood, and I was like, that could go so many ways. I'm like, please stop telling me that. And they said that they can get us post oak, but more than likely we'll probably use white oak, I'm thinking, which is a harder wood, but I think that we can adjust.
Yeah, it creates more smoke.
Yeah.
Which might not be a bad thing.
One of the most interesting things I'm learning as I'm learning more and more and more about barbecue is the importance of wood.
Oh, well, and I love the she smiled and said, might be a good thing. I mean, that's that entrepreneurial experimenter's attitude where she goes, I don't care. I'm going to take what I got, move it to LA, and we'll work with what we got there. I'm very curious if you would be able to notice the difference.
Well, that's what I was wondering too, because if smoke matters so much and they use post oak at the place everyone knows and love now, but when they get to LA, they might have to use white oak. Now, to a lot of people, that probably sounds the same, oaks and oak. But to barbecue aficionados, the importance of smoke is everything. So could it have a distinct flavor?
Yeah, I'm so curious. I mean, you're cooking that stuff in smoke for hours. It's like marinating it. So the smoke is being naturally, I mean, a good piece of brisket has, you know, quarter, sometimes even a half-inch smoke ring. That's that red around the edges. And so it's a great question.
we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll have to do a LA episode.
Oh, yeah. Whew. I can't wait to start traveling. First, we got to cover all of Texas. There's a lot of barbecue in Texas.
I think there's enough to put us in an early grave.
I don't know about that. Like, I work out. While we're doing all this, a lot of the owners have been traveling around because of Texas Monthly and just because the scene's growing and checking out all kinds of things. And I know Leanne and Allie have been around for a long time, so they have a really interesting relationship with Snows.
First time I went to Snows, I was shooting for Texas Monthly. Their 2008 barbecue issue was 2006.
I don't remember.
It was the one right before the last one. And it's, they had me go around and shoot all the barbecue places that were in the top 5. And so it was Snows, Kreitz, Smitty's, City Market, and my dad. So Louis Miller's. So that's the first time I had Snows, and I got to meet Tootsie. I got some amazing portraits.
She's such a cool lady, man.
But I've never gone around and eaten barbecue.
I hug her probably a little longer than I should sometimes.
There's so much love for Tootsie, and she actually just had knee surgery. So if you know or are a fan of Snows, ask them how she's doing, or we're going to mail her a card, I think.
Everyone I've met so far in the barbecue scene all around has mentioned her. She's so beloved. I really hope I can meet her.
And her whole family is beautiful. I mean, you feel like family when you go there a lot, and they're all just happy to please. We end up talking to the pitmasters and the owner there, which we'll cover in another episode. But Leanne, who grew up around barbecue, actually has some relationship with her family as well.
Isn't Olive Garden's slogan "When you hear your family"?
Probably.
That woman, oh my gosh, it's gonna make me cry because I got to take a photo. I got to take a portrait of her husband. He would be out there, and
You should find that.
And I know I need to send it to her. And he was eating his beans while she's cooking. It was so sweet. And like I said, got some great portraits of her. That's the first time I've ever gone on a barbecue pilgrimage because I was hired to shoot it. And it was just interesting because growing up eating barbecue, I've never been on a quest to eat barbecue because I was like, oh, my dad has the best. Why would I go anywhere else? But it was really cool, just especially to meet her. And then a few years later, when they started selling their frozen briskets for Foodie Direct, they hired me to go on another barbecue pilgrimage, going around and shooting, the briskets and stuff that they were selling online. And I got to shoot her son. And I thought, because he wasn't working there at the time. So it was just interesting I think her husband was sick, or I don't think he'd passed away yet. But it's just seeing her family and all the people that have, blessed
cool.
Snows through her. I thought was really cool.
There's so many great people I'm learning around barbecue. It has this real family atmosphere.
Yeah, and it's that slow, relaxed attitude. It's that, whether you want to call it Texas or the South or family, or it's the idea of it's not going to be close. You're going to take a drive, then you're going to wait even longer, but then you get greeted with smiles. You get home cooked food, from the brisket to the pork shoulder, chicken. They even make banana pudding from scratch. This is not some gourmet, like they probably make custard from a mix, but that stuff's good.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Basically now they just put one on our platter as soon as we walk in.
They know. They should just feed it to you like a little baby bird.
Well, and I like it. I think that Austin and a lot of major cities have this addiction to new things, and everything has to be new. And I'm the opposite. I want to go to a place where there's a little coffee shop, breakfast place around the corner from here. And when I walk in, they just put my drink in front of me because they know what I like. Tootsie, who, is the pitmaster co-owner of Snows, she's a machine. She works 5 days a week. You can look her up. We'll probably link to that show when we have it. I mean, she wakes up at midnight. She's in her 80s. She wakes up at midnight and just works all morning through the night and makes barbecue every Saturday on top of her full-time job.
Well, we can all learn lessons from her.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the juxtaposition. While Snows is consistent and solid, La Barbecue is out there trying new things. They're moving to a more consistent location at the Quickie Picky, which is right there on Cesar Chavez, just a couple blocks from where they are now. and they're going to be going out of that kitchen, and they're moving to LA. So it's fun to see what their future plans are.
We also have talked about, I mean, Leanne and I love Brooklyn so much. We actually got married in Brooklyn about 3 years ago.
I used to live there.
Yeah, and Leanne lived there before, and so we have, you know, a special place in our heart, Brooklyn. So, I mean, who knows what the future holds, to be quite honest, because, I mean, we could, you know, hit the coasts and, you know, not compete against ourselves, honestly.
It'd be fun to try to do something internationally.
It would be so much fun. It'd have to be a totally different situation, though.
And you have to, you know, look at your meat, you know, how you're going to source your meats, your wood.
Yeah, and they have different cuts. So crazy.
I love their excitement and their curiosity for different places and what they can source and what's available. These guys are going to go far, and I can't wait to try it all.
Yeah, we'll be there to try it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we might end up having to go to Brooklyn. The web of barbecue is spreading quickly.
The travel budget for our show is off the hook.
Yeah, well, it's called driving. It's super cheap. That or Frontier Airlines.
Spirit.
Is that the cheap one?
That's the good one.
I like driving, man. I don't like, honestly, it's old school stuff. Like, I just want to carry my pocket knife, and I don't want to have like buy a pocket knife every time. So I just like having my pocket knife, and I
I'm
like
outta
having my
here.
stuff.
He's branded. He's standing up and he's waving a knife in my face.
I carry a fanny pack with like a
It's
9
full of
millimeter
knives.
That just like this show, barbecue as a team as well. You know, me and Stover work pretty hard here to entertain y'all and to go out and try barbecue and really break it down for you. But the team atmosphere is even more happy and beautiful over at La Barbecue.
Barbecue isn't about one person. Barbecue should be about a team.
I agree.
It shouldn't be about like one pitmaster, because there's no one person out there back there that cooks every single thing. The only person I've ever seen do that is my dad. That man cooked everything that that was put on your tray in front of you. You know, and if he, you know, and, you know, of course, he passed away at 69 doing that. But, you know, it's not about one ego. It's about a bunch of people coming together to give the customers the best experience that they possibly can every day.
Absolutely.
If it was about one ego, you guys would not exist, because, as we all know, like, people go to a place and then go to somewhere else, or they move on, or they get hired.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is fluid, and it has to be La Barbecue that is the taste, not the one person. 'Cause
Right.
If they leave, then you're dead.
Absolutely.
I agree.
People should, no matter, and that's why you said follow to a T. A rule of order is perfect for this kind of.
Right.
It's an art
Yes.
form, but if you can follow the structure of a masterpiece.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was very well said.
Yeah. That's like,
he's on the show.
well, and that's what we've been preaching too. That's like what Leanne and I've been, you know, since we've kind
Because
of.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
go
it is an absolute art form, and it is a skill that you can take with you for the rest of your life. But
Yeah.
it is not one person. It is not me. It is not Allie.
No.
It is not anyone. We all have to work together, and when any part of that equation gets disrupted, you can see it falls like dominoes. And, you know, you have to make sure that everybody's on the same page working
Yeah,
together.
and happy. I mean, you just want happy
Absolutely.
employees.
I love their attitude. I love the way that they bring everything, and I love that recording, and you can hear the grackles, you can hear the tire shop that's next to where they're set up right now. You can hear people blasting music as they drive by, kind of an occupational hazard here of making these shows.
And in the next episode, there's one clip where you hear a thumping bass of a car go by. And I swear it sounds like a baby singing in the song, but we'll see.
I just love that they're in the cut. I love that, you know, when we pulled up there the first time, I thought maybe that they had some parking, but that tire place has a huge parking lot right next door, and you got to park in the neighborhood and kind of take a walk or cut through the alley just to get to their little trailer park.
I'd been to the place next door, Stay Gold, a few times, and I had actually had no idea that the barbecue place was next door.
Yeah, so for a second, it wasn't very long, they looked at actually cooking later, doing another cook later, and offering food because they're so close to Stay Gold having a little stand in there selling their food, but I never experienced that. To my knowledge, I don't know if it ever even happened. But that would have been cool to get some good brisket at midnight while you're dancing the night away at Stay Gold.
Is that what you do at Stay Gold?
Oh, yeah. I used to play in a reggae band that had a residency at Stay Gold. It was super fun.
With the things you learn on a podcast.
Well, I feel like a true Austinite has a very diverse resume. And, you know, I probably had 15 jobs since I moved here a decade ago.
Well, I used to be in a hardcore band.
I don't know if you'd call that a job. Did you make money?
Well, yeah, we once got $25 and that was enough to pay for gas, and then we developed a roll of film.
Oh, man. I don't miss the music scene at all. I'm happy to be a patron and not a performer.
Yeah, the barbecue scene is much more fulfilling.
Well, and if you're willing to put in the time, the more we do this, the more excited I get to do my own cook and cook a brisket because I've been jonesing to do it.
I roasted a whole pig butt the other day.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I tore into it.
You cooked it in the oven?
Cooked it in the oven.
Should have brought it over. We could have run it on the smoker.
I was feeling ravenous.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, when you're hungry, you're hungry.
I'm hungry right now.
Yeah, right? You might have to take a break here and find some barbecue or order some pizza or something.
Well, before we do that, let's tell them what's coming up on the next episode.
In the next episode, we're talking to Cam, the general manager, and Brendan, the pitmaster currently, who will soon move to LA with La Barbecue's LA location. And we're going to break down kind of some of the methods and best practices and talk about some more wood.
And other fun surprises in store.
As always, if you have any questions, you can send them to Stover at bestbarbecueshow.com. That's STOVER at bestbarbecueshow.com.
Thank you.
Have a great day and go try some barbecue.
Hey, they come in and meet, man.
This has been a production of Glencliff Media, produced right here in the heart of Texas.